In an age of titans and kings, under a sky bruised and torn by storms, two armies stood poised on the brink of destiny. On one side, the mighty Philistines, a sea of iron and ambition. On the other, the sons of Israel, their hearts heavy with fear, their ranks trembling before an impossible challenge. For among the Philistines stood a champion, a giant forged from legend and nightmare. His name was Goliath. 10 feet of raw power, encased in shimmering bronze that mocked the distant lightning. His helmet was a crown of war, his spear a weaver's beam, and his voice a thunder that rolled across the valley of Elah, shaking the very resolve of his enemies. For 40 days, his challenge echoed, a taunt against a nation and their God. "Send out your champion," he roared, "and let us decide this war, man to man." His shadow fell long and dark, a creeping dread that swallowed the courage of an entire army. The ground itself seemed to groan under his immense weight with every thunderous step. But courage is not always found in the mightiest of warriors or the sharpest of swords. Sometimes it is found in the heart of a boy. From the fields of Bethlehem came David, a shepherd, his hands accustomed not to a sword's hilt, but to the smooth wood of a harp and the simple leather of a sling. He was young, his frame slight, but his eyes burned with a fire that no giant could quench, the fire of unwavering faith. While seasoned soldiers hid behind their shields, David heard the giant's blasphemy not as a threat, but as an offense against the heavens. He rejected the king's own armor, the heavy bronze and cumbersome sword. It was not his. His trust was not in steel, but in something far greater. He walked to a babbling brook, the water cool against his skin. There, under the watchful eye of heaven, he chose 5 smooth stones, each one a prayer, each one a testament to his belief. One for the lion, one for the bear he had slain, protecting his flock, and 3 more for the giant who now stood as the ultimate test. They were simple, ordinary stones, yet in his hands they became instruments of divine will. As David stepped onto the battlefield, a murmur rippled through both armies. A boy against a giant, a shepherd against a decorated warrior. It was madness. The wind whipped his simple cloak around him as he walked, a lone figure of defiance against a mountain of flesh and fury. Dust swirled at his feet in slow, deliberate clouds, each step a declaration of faith. Goliath laughed, a deep, guttural sound of pure contempt. "Am I a dog," he bellowed, "that you come to me with sticks and stones?" He cursed David by his gods, promising to feed his flesh to the birds of the air. David's voice, clear and steady, cut through the giant's rage. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." The tension was a living thing, a palpable force that silenced the world. David placed a single stone into his sling. He began to swing it, slowly at first, then faster and faster, a whirlwind of leather and intent. The air itself seemed to howl, the sound rising with the dramatic pulse of a world holding its breath. He released it. The stone flew, a blur of impossible speed. For a fraction of a second, it caught the light, a tiny star on a collision course with destiny. It was not just a rock. It was faith made manifest, a symbol of courage soaring against all odds. It struck the giant square on the forehead, the only vulnerability in his armor of pride. The impact was absolute. The giant's eyes widened in disbelief, the taunts dying on his lips. He swayed, a great tower teetering on its foundation. And then he fell, not like a man, but like a mountain collapsing into the earth. The crash of his armor was a deafening roar, a sound that shook the ground and shattered the fear that had gripped Israel for 40 days. Silence a stunned, breathless silence. Then, a single shout from the Israelite ranks, which grew into a tidal wave of victorious cries. The sky, once dark and menacing, began to part. Sunlight, pure and golden, broke through the clouds, bathing the valley in a triumphant glow. The Philistine army, their champion slain, broke and fled in terror. In the center of it all stood David, small yet immense, a shepherd boy, now a giant slayer. He held his simple sling, his figure framed by heavenly light, an eternal symbol that with courage, with faith, the smallest among us can overcome the greatest of giants. Thanks for watching.